to the Championship F1 category here at beautiful Silverstone. I'm Brett Keenan, joined in commentary today by Matthew Elliott. Matt, last couple of weekends ago we saw interesting Austrian Grand Prix with John Lindberg now becoming the third triple winner of the season, finishing comfortably ahead of Jos van der Brugge and Daniel Vail, our championship points leader, who heading into this weekend. So Matthew, welcome to the program. Great race last week, well yesterday for you in F3, managed to bag some points and help consolidate your championship lead. Some of these faster drivers are starting to catch up to you, which could be a bit of a threat near the end of the season. So what's your primary thoughts heading into Silverstone for these drivers? What do you think? Who do you think is going to be taking top glory, and who would you like to see have a decent result today?
I think the usual people will be at the top. Again, to see everybody finish the race, have a nice clean turn one, and possibly have a dark horse win. Usually
our first turn around Silverstone's not generally the biggest issue here. It's more about turn 3, and as I said to commentator Mark Pratby yesterday, we had an altercation here last season in the GP2 category, as we call it, now primarily known as the F2 category, where our pole sitter Robert Zwanniken, who actually was meant to be in today's race but couldn't make it, started on pole position, had a beautiful pole lap, and then got to turn 3 and a rampant Renault, who was knocked off the circuit by Daniel Vail, no doubt, no less, caused the Renault driver to go back, flying backwards, taking out Robert and taking him straight out of the race immediately. So turn 3 can be the tricky zone. Turn 1 is always pretty good as long as everyone just goes in flat, nobody lifts off. I'll just need to have a chat there with Stanley there, because he's our invitational, so I don't know what car he'll be in, but he's just going to be taking part, so I'm just going to run by that. And so while we do that, Matt, why don't you give us a few interesting facts about Silverstone that you can think of on the spot?
Don't really have anything.
Well, I said it yesterday, and I don't know if you watched it or not, but this was the first ever Grand Prix to be held back in 1950, and of course this year will mark our 1000th Formula 1 Grand Prix race at the Chinese Grand Prix. Now, I've actually just clicked on the fact that it is actually now raining. It is only intermediate conditions, so we're just going to see who was the first driver to go out. Got a handful of them coming out. It's one of the McLarens. I think it's Melvin Stolbach, who's just weaved himself straight into the grass. Had a bit of a moment there. So Melvin on track now. Sorry, just getting in contact with Stanley about. Anyway, just riding on board with Melvin Stolbacher around the Silverstone circuit. Now, you had the liberty of being able to do this in the rain yesterday. How treacherous can it be? Like, what's the difference in the conditions? Like, is it a drastic change in the weather, or is it one of those ones where you've got to be so careful and so ginger?
I didn't find it too bad. I just had to take corners a little slower, like maybe 3/4 speed on like the flat corners. But I didn't really have a problem with it, and I usually do pretty bad in the rain.
So 13 drivers, I forgot to mention, taking part in this qualifying session. Probably one of our bigger set of numbers for the F1 in quite a few races. So you've got Banana Josh or Joshua Law right behind Melvin. Now Melvin's actually decided to pull into the pits rather than set a lap. So our next driver to set a flying lap will be Joshua Law in the incorrectly numbered Sauber, unless we'll just find Nadir Ziatni, and Nadir's still running the number 23 as well, so a few drivers not running the correct numbers, so we haven't been too strict on it as of late, but we probably will slam down on it next season for sure. Actually, Josh has been either overtaken, or is that the other... that's not the other McLaren of George van der Brug. Finally running his proper race number of 95. He will be able to use 19 next season. There is a car in front of Joshua Law, but I can't really pinpoint who it is. It might be Alex Little in the second of the Mercedes. So hopefully this time we can see Mackenzie actually race today. I would be very disappointed if his internet decided to cut him off just 2 in a row.
I'm sure he'll probably share that disappointment.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he would. I would actually almost guarantee that he'd probably want to restart or something like that. There's, it's not the greatest of things for a disconnection on any account. If it's qualifying, it's not so bad because you've got 20 minutes to at least try and get back in. But if it's a race, it's a different story. Now, Josh has actually subsequently abandoned that lap to allow Daniel Vale through, and George van der Brug was actually the first driver on circuit and set a 139.5, so I'm a bit surprised by that. Alex Little with a 42.6 has had an abolished lap compared to George. I think Daniel Vale will be the next driver to come through, and he sets a 38.8 to be less than 6 tenths of a second faster, and Matthias Vicelli, our Rainmeister, can only manage third with a 39.4, so Alex Little just off the pace in the wet weather conditions. John Lindbergh goes up to P2 with a 38.9, which puts him only 1 tenth behind his championship combatant of Daniel Vale. A very interesting statement that was released by Daniel Vale just before the race began. Reckons while he's competitive today, is actually Eddie Bettenbauer goes up to P2 with a 39.4. He reckons he won't be competitive next season. Now, what do you think? I mean, what could you possibly think would spring him to think that?
I don't know. It may be just a little mind games, but he might feel... I really don't know. He's consistently been at the top. I don't know why he wouldn't feel like he'd be less competitive.
It could be on the account of F1's possibility of moving to no racing line for next season. A lot of these drivers do use racing line. There's only a select handful that don't. But either which way, it's coming down to a lot of minuscule facts. Now, we're just going to see watch Alex Little here. I don't think his teammates only just not far behind him, so we'll just see what happens. So can Alex Little improve on his 42.6? He can. It's going to be a 39.5, which is only good enough for P5 at the moment. So here comes Mackenzie Stewart. What's he going to set? He's going to set a 38.
Oh, there we go.
A 38.4, but instantly pipped by Daniel Vale with a 37.8. So there's another 6 tenths you got to find. So Mackenzie. So Daniel Vale on top again from Mackenzie Stewart. Now the beauty about this kind of qualifying, this wet qualifying, is that if the race is dry, then you don't actually feel the need to have to pit. So you just come in, do about 3 or 4 laps on these intermediates, burn them out, come in, do another, and then do another set. So you can tell because this is Daniel's second run, and John's already gone back up to P2 as well with the 38.1. So there's definitely looks like the intermediates take a couple of laps to warm up, and as a result, you can see these faster times starting to come out now. Looking at the leaderboard, so actually caught my attention and I'm quite impressed by seeing is Eddie Bettenbauer up in P4. So a great job there to be out qualifying his more experienced F1 teammate, and of course who we used last season as the Rainmeister, Matthias Vicelli. So Matthias having much success, most of his race win success in the wet conditions or the tight twisty circuits such as Monaco. So it's good to see Eddie up there. He's just been now displaced by George van der Brugge with a 38.5. Nadir Ziyat and James Retief have now set times, as well as and as I say that, Daniel just further drops that marker down to a 37.6, so one extra tenth added to that time. John decides not to go for another one, and Daniel's still going at it, so Daniel's obviously filled his car up quite a bit and is just punching out as much fast times as he can. Mackenzie still hasn't improved from a 38.4. Alex Little still on a 39.5, which is still P6. March Trisandi up to position 8 with a 39.9. And James Retief has improved now to a 40.5 to be position 9 ahead of Joshua Law. Melvin Stolbaka and Nadir Ziyat makes up the top 12. Only driver yet to set a lap is Guy Tasker, who's now actually on circuit. So Guy saying that he had dinner at the point of the start of the session, so he's managed to come back out and he'll try and get a lap in. Silverstone on a pad is going to be very treacherous, especially in wet conditions, and I should know this myself because I'm going to have to race F2 with a pad. So I'm not looking too optimistic about my race performances this weekend. I'll be back on the wheel for Germany in 2 weeks' time, so that's lucky enough, and we'll see what Guy Tasker is going to do. In fact, what we're going to do is do a virtual lap on board Guy Tasker's number 80 Red Bull and see how he tackles this in the wet conditions. So heading to turn 1, he's definitely short shifting to try and ease up on wheel spin. Coming into turn 1, just a slight dip off the acceleration, holds it together through turn 2, then turn 3, very tricky. You've got to keep on the brakes, but at the same time make sure that you're not forcing them into locking up. Same through turn 4, and then 5. You usually take this pretty flat. The guy short shift flat through that corner, and then heads up towards 6 and 7, the original penultimate and last turn on the original Silverstone layout. In fact, if anything, I am actually just noticing on board with Guy Tasker, the rain is starting to stop. So that could be an interesting telling point as to what happens at the end of the session, whether drivers are going to come out on dry tyres and try and up their strategies or whatnot. So then going through Copse very, very gingerly through 6th gear, so it's definitely not going full power through here. Through Maggots and Beckett's as an instant sector 1-2, we'll ignore that for now. And then through Beckett's into... Yeah, he's done it pretty well. He's looking like it's a pretty clean lap going from the looks of it. He's definitely just looking for a lap time rather than looking for the lap time, if people can understand that meaning. What I'm trying to say is he's just looking to get a lap in rather than focusing on whether this lap's going to be the fastest of the session. I would say that it's going to look to be about in the 38s, 39, so he's definitely not going to be, as he crosses the line, does a 1 minute 40.
Absolute.
Wow. 140 dead. You don't see that that often, so good job there by Guy to set a dead lap, but unfortunately that dead lap has only got him in P10 at the moment, so he's got a bit of work to do if he wants to catch up to his teammate. Now here's where it's getting interesting, so I'm just looking at the fitted lap things. John Lindberg is now moving to the soft tyre, so are we going to see a few drivers try and test their limits and see if they've got what it takes to get in a dry lap, or are some drivers going to say, I don't think it's going to dry up in time, I'm not going to risk my car for anything more than a test of a lap. So John Lindberg on the soft tyres now. George van der Brugge has gone back out on another set of intermediates, which is probably the cleverest thing to do, because you've got 5 minutes left on the clock and the track still looks reasonably greasy out there, and George is actually coming under a bit of siege here by one of the Mercedes, which I think is on a lap, so George will probably want to get out of the way here. In fact, he's probably done a bit of a dirty there on one of the Mercs. I don't know which one it is. I think it's Alex Little, because Mackenzie Yeah, it was Alex Little. So Alex will be probably be a little aggrieved by that. Although it doesn't look like it was a very good lap from Alex to start with anyway, so he'll now punch on and try and do something here. I don't think...
Wow.
Oh, this could get ugly.
Just set another lap, 4 thousandths higher.
So who was that?
Guy just set another 140 but he was 4 thousandths slower.
Oh Jesus! Oh, he has two. That's quite consistent, if anything, and Guy will probably think that himself, but probably not. He won't be too optimistic on the idea of it. So 4 minutes 30 on the clock. Oh, this could get a bit... What's going on here? Mackenzie just being very slow on the apex could have just compromised Joshua Law's run there through turn 5. It'd be very interesting to see how that looks at, but I think there'll be a few people saying a few things during at the moment, but can't really say for sure. But a few drivers are now coming in. I just don't think it's going to dry up enough to really warrant the need to try and chuck on a set of dry tyres and go for it. You can still see the plumes, you can still see a wet verge, so I'd probably be just kind of more worried about the drivers now trying to set fast intermediate times, because you're probably not going to be able to get out in time to set a lap. So let's put an average on it. So the average lap time right now is actually a 1 minute 40. Disregard Nadir Ziyat's time because it's below the average. So a 1 minute 40 time as Guy now actually moves to P... Well, originally it was P8, but has now moved to P9 because Melvin Stabak has done a brilliant job to put McLaren 4 and 5 on the grid at the moment. But yeah, as I was saying, it's an average of a 1 minute 40 lap time. So if the track doesn't look anywhere remotely dry by 2 minutes time, you're pretty much you pretty much may as well not bother. So John's theory to go out on the soft tyre, he could give it a go right now because it could be dry enough to... Oh my goodness, Guy's just caught a shot there. Guy did not get out of the way of Joshua Law, and that could be an impeding, a very heavy impediment. So if that happens, Guy Tasker could be looking at a possible qualifying ban for Hockenheim. I mean, I don't know what the deal with that was. It just Guy did not get out of the way. Guy stayed on the racing line, and Josh actually had to go to the grass to avoid him. So there's a fair amount going on now. Daniel Vale's come back out on another set of fresh inters, so I don't know whether or not... I wouldn't think I was quite a content time. Now, there's actually a lot
John's
more...
coming out on the softs.
Yeah, there are a few drivers taking chances. Alex Little's coming out on the softs as well, as is Jules Vanderbrug, so there are a few drivers quite content on the idea that the track's dry enough, but it'll be a waiting game. Let's have a look. So let's ride on board with John Lindberg and see what kind of acceleration he's having to take. So heading into turn 5, he's having to be ginger about it. I'm actually a bit surprised at how quickly the track has subsequently dried up since I made that statement, but given how much John's having a short shift and make ginger movements into the corners, let's see how he approaches Copse. So heading into Copse. Now see, when you have to drop down 2 gears to make Copse stick, you're limited to grip. So now let's have a look and do a virtual lap on board Daniel Vale and see the difference in this. So car's definitely sliding a lot more. That would suggest that the inters are heating up too much, and George has actually ended up... Oh, actually, sorry, as I say that now, Daniel's just made a huge error He's probably watching us on the stream. It's got put off, but let's see how. Yeah, I just don't think. Yeah, I think Daniel's safe. I think it's also more to the point that I don't think some drivers are actually going to make it across the line. So, Alex Little just makes it across with a few things to go. Now, DRS has just been enabled, but is that going to have any impact on... Would you say DRS on a track in this condition would have any significant impact?
I would say no. Especially when you're on the super softs right now. I'm watching John and he's just sliding all over.
Well, just look at the first sector split here on John. Oh my goodness me. I think I am certain for a fact that Guy Tasker just did the worst thing possible and retired on track when you're not supposed to. He's just violated qualifying conduct 1.4.2, so he's going to be in big trouble for that one. Either way, we'll just go back and watch John at the moment. Daniel's about to cross the line and finish his run, but it was a pretty bad, after turn 3, that was pretty much that run over, so he's not going to improve on this one by a long shot. In fact, if anything, he's going to be his time is just going to be slower than his teammates' current lap time. And so... what can Daniel do? What can John do? This could actually be pole position for John. That it's still a reasonable time here. Let's see. Crosses the line. Only just. Oh no, Alex Little to the top. Alex. So Alex Little puts that one on the last spot to go pole position. That's the second pole. I actually have to dig back on that. But yeah, Alex Little takes pole position for what could be the first or second time this season, which is a great, unbelievable, given that the track just didn't look like it was going to gel up in time, but it looks like it was enough. So John's time was only really subsequently enough to put him 0.3 of a second up. So it was a bit of a gamble no matter how you look at it. But the gamble has paid off for both him and Alex Little. Of course, Alex is looking to try and get his championship back on track after missing a couple of races. So any which way, so this is your qualifying lineup. So the thing that I find interesting about this is that everyone pretty much from position 3 right down to position 13 have got the free choice of tyre. Alex Little and John Lindberg, I don't think they do, because they've done their qualifying on the set of soft tyre. The only benefit that they probably have from this is that A, they've got clean track in front of them, and B, the track wouldn't have had enough degradation to really put a bite into those soft tyres. So we'll see in due course whether or not that's gonna, and we'll see how that plays out.
Nice sunny day.
Yep, so the conditions are pretty much as... I guess that would have been weather that you guys in F3 would have been hoping for, instead of the overcast into wet conditions.
Most definitely.
But it did prove to have some interesting racing at the end, which is getting a few things happening in the Discord team radio area, so just waiting to see people just starting up. So it's a definite one, or it could be a definite one-stop strategy. I'd probably almost take the idea of doing a one-stop for the sole purpose of the long ass pit lane. So you don't want to be caught doing two stops here if you've got the pace to do a one stop. So without further ado, while the drivers now get ready to go, Matt, without further ado, would you be able to run us through our TKA Media starting grid?
Yeah. On pole, we have Alex Little. In second, John Lindberg. Third, Daniel Val. Fourth, Mackenzie Stewart. Fifth, Matthias Bocelli. Sixth, George Vanderberg. Seventh, Melvin Strabaka. Eighth, Eddie Bettenbauer. Ninth, Joshua Law. 10th, March Trisandi. 11th, Guy Tasker. 12th, James Retief. And 13th, Nadir Zayed.
Well done there, thank you, Matt. So, just looking at the grid order, and you can kind of see where Ferrari have come from, with the prospects of moving Nadir to Haas for the second half of the season and moving Matthias up to Ferrari but at Hungary. So you can kind of understand it, because if you look to where Matthias is qualified versus where Nadir is, you can see why Daniel Vale feels like the championship in the constructors side of things has kind of slipped out of their grasp, what with Mercedes currently leading the constructors championship. Just getting a quick roundup on that. They lead the championship by 19 points over Red Bull, with Ferrari third, a further 29 points behind. So now something strange happened here, because Alex is actually well, Alex and John have had contact, and as a result John's actually been disqualified from the session. But it was a very strange moment there where Alex was behind John, so I wonder if maybe Alex has done a brake test on him and things. Unfortunately, formation lap incidences don't get taken too much into account. Next season we're definitely going to be having a few more rules pertained on procedures through formation laps, and we'll also be conducting investigations if a driver feels like they've been deliberately hit off or taken off the thing. So we're about to get underway here. I'm just trying to see if I can get a big shot here, but unfortunately not. So we're going to get a backward shot of the lights. A good showing here. The lights go red. That's our way we go, and John Lindberg's gone absolutely nowhere. Alex Little gets off to a beautiful start. Daniel Vale takes advantage of it. In fact, he's going to try and force the issue around the outside. In fact, he's got it done coming through turn 1 and turn 2. Daniel Vale to the lead of the Grand Prix. Our championship contender and front row sitter John Lindberg gone absolutely nowhere at the start. Guy Tasker's gone from position 8 all the way up to position 4. In fact, he's given Matthias Bocelli a bit of a rough time into the session. Cars are fanning out left, right and centre going through into the original final turn. And through all this, I just can't believe what the hell happened to John at the start.
I have no idea.
I'd be curious to see if it wasn't that glitch where all the drivers just launched off the grid before he did. So it'd be interesting to see. He's definitely got the pace, so he'll definitely move up the field. There's actually quite a lot of drivers that have managed to move further up the field than that were originally qualified. Nadir Zayat's gone from the back of the field already up to P8. Guy Tasker, as I said, has gone from P8 to P3. Mackenzie Stewart's giving Matthias Bocelli a bit of a hurry along. In fact, he's got the run quite convincingly. I was going to say, Guy might have to get defensive a little bit, because Mackenzie almost prepared to size up a move to take 2 positions in one sitting. Joshua Law's made a pretty good start as well. We'll just have a look at the the leader position changes. So you can see here that Guy Tasker's made 8 positions from the start, and John Lindberg has lost 11. So great start by one Red Bull, terrible start by the other. And through it all, Daniel Vale, with that beautiful execution through turn 1 and turn 2, was able to set up an outside move into an inside move that got him ahead of Alex Little at the start. And Alex will be probably cursing himself a little bit, wouldn't you think?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, here we go. We've got to move down here. Melvin Strabaka down the inside of Joshua Law and gets the move done. And actually, Josh Melvin was a bit too generous there because Josh has actually managed to get a move there. Oh, bit of contact coming into the original final turn. I'm sorry for the people watching who are probably cringing at me saying these corner names because I only know Cobbs, Maggots and Beckett's and think, why do you have to play with me now? Anyway, and it looks like Mackenzie Stewart has cleared Guy Tasker as well, so Mercedes looking to capitalise on their good constructive form at the moment and currently sits second and third on track, but Daniel Vale is just starting to pull a gap out to the extent of just over 2 seconds after the second lap, so Daniel's just definitely switched on. Probably has set his car up to be more of a dry weather car, which is probably could explain a little bit of his slower pace on the intermediates in the qualifying session. You don't want to be going too hard out if you know that the track's going to be dry. So current order after lap 3 is Daniel Vale, Alex Little, Mackenzie Stewart, Guy Tasker, Matthias Vicelli, Joshua Law, Melvin Stubaka, Addy Bettenbauer, Georges Vanderbrug, James Retief, Nadir Ziyat, March Drosandi, and John Lindberg has not actually made very much ground. I would have thought, honestly, he would have been siving his way through the field now, but he must be just biding his time, waiting patiently for some drivers up front to make a mistake. Now, something I didn't actually look at when all this was set in motion is the different tyre strategies that everyone's running. So you've got Daniel Vale and Alex Little both on the soft tyre. Of course, Alex probably had to start on those softs anyway because of the fact that he did qualify and it did get turned into a dry session at the end. And then you've got Mackenzie's teammate, Alex's teammate Mackenzie on the medium tyre. Very surprised to see no one actually start on the yeah, it's easy to see that, you know, it's that kind of thing. Now, John's actually managed to that's a very interesting move there that John's managed to pull off on March Drosandi heading into through Maggots and Beckett, so that was quite a good move there. And now we've got a battle here between Matthias Vicelli and John Lindberg's teammate Guy Tasker here, so that's probably the closest battle, because right now Daniel Vale is just absolutely leaving the rest of the field for dead. Oh, we've got a moment here. I think Melvin's spun. He has. He's had a spin through turn 1. Do you think that would have been DRS?
I don't think so.
It's not impossible to spin due to the DRS not deactivating in time for the corner, but you never know what a possibility is. So Matthias Vicelli's having a really good race today at the moment. Definitely looking strong, giving Guy Tasker a run for his money. Special welcome to a special someone who's just joined us in the commentary box. Anyway, moving on. So Toro Rosso Honda having a really good race actually. So both sitting 5th, and we've got another incident actually, and this time it's James Retief. It looks like I don't know whether it's an accident, but he has lost ground on the rest of the pack, and John Lindberg's now managed to recover up to position 9. Oh, we've got a move here. Well, we had a move here. It looked like Matthias was setting up a move here and didn't pull off. In fact, he's going to go down the inside. He thinks better for it. Now, I'm just curious about something, because I could have sworn I saw a different number on Eddie Bettenbauer, and I'm just wondering if he's running his new number as opposed to, yeah, he is. So he's running the 24 now because, of course, next season with Lando Norris, I think it is, running the number 4, a lot of drivers aren't going to be able to run their normal numbers. So of the current gridders, John Lindberg's actually now just made a move on Georges Vanderbrug to get up to position 7, so he's making a good recovery. So of the drivers currently I'll run you through the order and see what's changing. So Daniel Vale will stay with the number 85 next season, that post depending on whether he can take the championship or not. So what I say here is all based on non-championship winning status. So John will stay with the 85. Alex Little will be moving to the number 14 next season at Force India, as opposed to Fernando Alonso retiring. Mackenzie will stay at the number 22. Guy Tasker is going to stay at the number 80 through rumours that he might have moved to 28 as opposed to Brendan Hartley being dropped from Formula 1. Matthias will retain the number 89 at Ferrari. Eddie Bettenbauer has of course already moved to the number 24 as opposed to his number 4 being removed, as we'll just quickly just hold the thought there while Matthias drills the back of what is soon to be his factory team. And he's got to be careful too, because Eddie's going to... In fact, Eddie has set himself up. Eddie's just brilliantly put one on his teammate there to snatch P5 while Matthias was busy battling and then gets a 3-second time penalty as if the steward said that's a no-no. But that was a beautiful move there by Eddie to capitalise on his teammate's battle. In fact, the Toro Rossos are now in the meat and a Red Bull sandwich. So you've got Guy Tasker leading the two Toro Rossos, and then you've got John actually right behind them both. So you could see. Anyway, so now that we've got a spare moment, in fact, actually we've got an incident. Nadir Ziyat's had a spin off at turn 3, it looks like. And Joshua Law's actually come out on the hard tyres, so we get a chance to see these beautiful ice blue striped hard tyres on the car for once. Something we only saw in F1 once, and that was Nico Hulkenberg at the actual Grand Prix, and didn't give very many shots of it. It's quite a nice looking tyre on the Sauber, that's for sure. But Daniel Vale out to a gap of 4.5 seconds, so we'll go back to the number thing. So John Lindberg definitely is retaining the number 13, believes it's his favourite number. George Vanderbrug is running the number 95, but will have the option of going to the number 19 if he wants to. Marc Trasandi moving to F2 next season, Ferrari. He's keeping the number 96. And then James Retief is also moving to F2 as well. No certainty on whether he's sticking with the 6 or not. Melvin Stolbaka will have to change his race number to what we believe is number 30, as opposed to Alexander Albon taking the number 23 for this season in the Toro Rosso. Nadir Ziyat also running the 23. He'll revert to his 69 for next season, and then Joshua Law also will move. Well, Joshua Law will move to the 28, as opposed to Guy not taking it. So, hang on, we've got a few battles here now. So, Eddie's now fancying a shot at Guy Tasker, while John Lindberg now down the inside of former teammate Matthias Vicelli. In fact, he's going to try and scythe around the outside. I don't know how well that's going to go, but either way, it pulls off. So who do you think, so far, Matt, it's been a standout, and who do you think's had dropped the ball a little bit? Oh, hang on, hold that thought. Oh, yeah, okay, go.
I'd say the Toro Rosso boys are running pretty good. They're looking really pacey. Eddie's right on the gearbox of Guy. And Guy's huge start was pretty good too.
Well, I mean, when you make up 8 positions from the start, it's you pretty much kind of understand the position. So actually, is that still the same? Just back to position change. No, it's up to 7. So, John Lindberg, 5-second stop-go penalty for speeding in pit lane. So that's further compounded his Silverstone woes for this weekend, missing the start by a few milliseconds, and now stops a 5-second stop go for speeding in pit lane. And to cap it off too, Mackenzie Stewart was also hit with a 3-second time penalty for speeding in pit lane, and Marc Trasandi is pretty much the same. Just riding here with Mackenzie now, who's probably just more grateful to the fact that he actually made the race today. So to answer the question of the person who's posted in about the qualifying times between F1 and F3, F3 were valiantly faster. Just to answer that question. No, but the qualifying in F1 was hampered by rain, so the fastest was a 1:36.6 by Alex Little on the soft tyre, but in pretty much conditions where you could have probably just easily just stayed on the intermediates and would have been pretty well all right, as Daniel Vale pretty much demonstrated. Now we've got to move here because looks like Eddie Bittenbell's gonna.
He's taking it.
Yeah, but it looks like he hasn't lost too much ground. He's only lost 2 positions as a result, but as long as he keeps his tyres in check, he's just going to lose a 3rd one here to James Retief. But, you can't blame him for having a go, but it just looks like at the end it just didn't prove to be the way to go. But as I say that, actually, Marsh Trissandi's starting to actually come back on these tyres a little bit, so he's starting to show a fair bit of pace, so it's good to see March on the... okay, so sorry Diogo, I didn't quite realise it was you. Yeah, so we've got an interesting battle here between pretty much now positions 6 through to 8, no, 6 through to 10, led off by George van der Brug, and then George van der Brug followed through to Eddie Bettenbauer, who'll be now trying to get back on the field. So John on the mediums at the moment has got a 1.7 second gap between himself and, for God's sake, Alex Little now in the pit. So Alex pits in from position 2. We've got a few moves here going on. Mark Trissandi fancied a look on James Retief. In fact, it's still going as we speak. They're still trying to have a go at one another, and Eddie will now try and capitalise on this and hopefully get back on the field, and Alex will actually come out behind these people, which is not a good thing. Oh, here we go, Eddie down the inside of March at turn 3, locks the brakes. March tries to... Oh, Eddie shuts the door quite brilliantly, actually. I have to say, that was quite a move there to stop March trying to take the incentive from the outside, as John sets the fastest lap on the race while trying to battle with Nadir Ziat. Melvin Stolbach's just now come in from position 10, and he's gonna say, John had a thought about trying to get Nadir there, but the car closed in too quickly. But he will now have the DRS, and the straight line spin should be able to clear Nadir pretty quickly, and job done for the and so the position is done. So March still on the back of Eddie Bettenbauer, but Eddie with now a lot of clean air, well, reasonably clean air, as Matthias is now actually...
James Retief.
Yep, and Matthias has actually now managed to clear Guy Tasker too, so... James around the outside of George van der Brug. Beautiful move coming through Stowe, but George has set himself brilliantly to get the over and under and gets the job done back, and Eddie now pits also to get away from the traffic. But yeah, beautiful move there from Matthias Ficelli to actually get past Guy Tasker there, so it only took a few more laps than probably one would have liked. But the interesting thing that I've now come to realise is that yesterday we saw the drivers coming in about lap 10 on the soft tyre because it didn't seem to be able to of course the rain came in as well, so that was one of the reasons. But yeah, so expect to see the just good comment there from Diogo from F3. The softs are definitely hanging on a lot longer for these drivers than what F3 was showing, because like you came in reasonably late compared to the rest of the field. How worn out were your soft tyres when you came in? I know you started on mediums, didn't you?
Yeah, I started on mediums, but I think we only went 6 laps before the rain started.
Yeah, so a lot of the interesting telling point was that the intermediates couldn't last any more than 10 laps, and we saw that influx for most drivers. There was only a select few that opted not to take the gamble, and it paid off somewhat for most of them. Now Guy Tasker's now come in, as has Daniel Vale, so we'll see in due course. I mean, it's pretty plain and evident that everyone's doing the one stop. It's just how you approach the one stop that makes the thing all worthwhile. That's an interesting telling point. Anyway, so March Trasandi now with another 3-second time penalty. So the vast majority of drivers in the field have got a time penalty of some sort. John, of course, has a 5-second stop go, which will probably translate into a 5-second time penalty at the end of the race. So Guy's managed to come back out behind. So John's actually managed to undercut his teammate through the strategy. But there's a 4-lap tyre difference, so probably expect to see Guy eventually catch John, and maybe a swap of positions will be in order. Alex has managed to be able to stay out of the trouble and stay in P7, and Daniel Vale, of course, is quite comfortably. In fact, if anything, I think the overcuts actually benefited Daniel a bit more because of the fresh, clean air. But he now has the battling duo of March Trasandi and James Retief and Alex. Mr. Consistency. Mr. Consistency no more. And oh my goodness me. March, just got a glimpse there of March. He was trying to get out. He was definitely trying to get out of the way of Daniel there, because Daniel was coming in at a rate of knots. But he's ultimately actually fired himself into the fence by doing that. So that was almost a DNF for March out of generosity. And there's a point in time in any motorsport category where there's a point in time where you give positions up, but you don't have to give them up all the time.
Yeah, I'm starting to learn that as well. I give up one spot to redress and then end up losing 2 actually.
It's just a forceful habit. I mean, sometimes you just got to pick and choose your incidences a little differently. If you feel like you need to give up a position or 2 because of the incident, then that's fine, but you've got to be careful about how you approach things. So March has now come out on the soft tyre, which I think, because he did start on the medium, so that does make sense. And Joshua Law right on the back of Melvin Stubaka, so those hard tyres probably only just start now to be rubbering up to the circuit. So Josh has taken a long time to get these hard tyres up to pace, and as a result now he's right on the back of Melvin Stubaka. And there's another battle too. Actually was another battle until Daniel Vale had cleared Jules van der Broek. So Daniel's just showing some really good pace here at the moment. Mackenzie Stewart still leads the Grand Prix from Matthias Vicelli, with Daniel Vale in 3rd. So just going to have a look at the distance between the leader and 3rd place, which is 23 seconds. So I don't know, to be honest, what the actual transit time of pit lane is, but I can guarantee you I don't think it's enough for Mackenzie to hold on to the lead once he makes his stop. And Matthias will also be likely to drop, because he's actually 11 seconds behind the leader as well. So he's only 11 seconds in front of Daniel too. So if, let's say per se, the transit time's 28 seconds, so Mackenzie's going to have basically a 8-second deficit to make up on the top 3 with fresher tyres. So, because I think at this point of time he's going to get jumped by not only Daniel but John and Alex as well. So maybe even Guy, I don't know, but only time will tell when Mackenzie finally makes his pit stop. In fact, we just saw a move here. March has now just cleared Melvin Stubaka. In saying that, also it looks like Josh made the move as well. We've got a battle here now between James Retief and Jules van der Broek.
And this has been ongoing pretty much the last N laps, and it's been fun to watch.
It looks like both drivers are just equally paced as well, so it's quite interesting to see these drivers just being able to battle it out and whatnot. And I'm just paying attention to that. In fact, they're going to take this battle to the pits as well, so that's going to be... So neither driver gets a 5-second stop go, so that's good for them. Daniel Vale does the fastest lap of the race, a 1 minute 30.1. And then gets a 3-second time penalty for his efforts. But I mean, I think that's the first one I've seen him get this race. So Now it's a battle of the pit lane, so let's see what kind of... Oh no, James has got a front wing change, so that's going to... Oh no, they both do! How bitterly ironic is that? So, you don't see that too often, so who's going to... Oh, it's going to be tight. They're going to ghost into each other, but then James' car will immediately back off, so John's through, Daniel's through, Alex is through, Eddie... These two are going to resume their battle in about 9th and 10th. Yep, March doesn't... Oh, actually, March could be... Yeah, March is going to join this battle, and he'll have... Actually, James is being awfully courteous there. I suppose... Yeah, I suppose... I wouldn't say that March had the right of way in a sense, but I think James has obviously believed that if he hadn't done that, March would have committed around the outside and they could have had contact. So, very generous move there by James Retief to actually let March through there, even though technically he had the right of way. But we'll just see how long it takes before Mackenzie decides to dive in. We would be set to believe... Where is he right now? He's on the main... Oh yeah, he's on turn 3. He's got just put a lap on Melvin. As Daniel does another fastest lap of the race, a 1:30.12. I would expect to think that Mackenzie and Matthias will be in this lap, because they'll want to do a 10-lap stint from the mediums to the softs and go from there. And then just looking around, there's no any real more immediate battles anymore, so everyone's kind of even George and March and all that have kind of... In fact, why has James come back in? That's interesting. What's going on here? Let's have a look. So it's another set of softs. It's another front wing change. Interesting. Must have got more damage throughout the session. And Mackenzie's in, so the gap was 20. The gap is 21 seconds. So yeah, this has definitely probably hurt Mackenzie more than it's benefited him, because even though he'll be on a soft tyre, he's still going to have to try and claw his way through the field. So Daniel's going to easily take command of the race lead. Interesting telling point as to how much of a transit time. In fact, I mean, you can't displace the fact that Daniel's going to easily take the lead back because of the fact that this could be an interesting battle. In fact, Mackenzie's actually overcut Alex Little, so he's overcut his teammate, and the gap is 7.7 seconds. So I thought Mackenzie would have actually lost a few more positions, but I'm a bit surprised he's managed to hold on to second like that. But he's got Alex reasonably close behind him, but a few laps down on the tyre wear, and John's made an excellent recovery from the back of the field back up to P4, and Guy's good start, it looks to have kind of fallen away from him through strategy, because even Matthias has managed to clear him in the overcut. So a few chops and changes. We'll have a quick look at the positional gain. So Guy still holds the most positions gained with 5. Melvin has made the most losers by dropping 5. In fact, Joshua Law has now just been overtaken by George Vanderbrug, and that's actually put Joshua where he started, as with March, and Matthias is also stuck in the same position he started in. Daniel and Mackenzie have both made up 2 positions from the start. Eddie Bettenbauer's made up a position from the start, and then Nadir Ziyat's made 2 positions from the start as well. So a few chops and changes in the field. A fair bit of disappointment for a few drivers. I think Eddie will be a little bit disappointed that he wasn't able to make the move on Guy Tasker and then subsequently spun himself around, but as a result of that, he was able to be in a pretty good battle there with a few drivers up the field. In fact, actually, as we say that battle between George Vanderbrug and Joshua Law hasn't quite ended yet, because Joshua's right on the back of that. So So we'll keep an eye out for the distances between Mackenzie and Daniel. They both have 3 seconds each, I think. I'll just take this time to have a quick look at the race director and see who's got what. So
I could take a look for you.
No, it's alright, I'm already there. So you've got Nadir with a 3 second, you've got Addy with a 3 second, James with a 3 second, Mackenzie with a 3 second, John with the stop go, that's unserved, March with a 3 second, George with a 3 second, Alex with a 3 second, then Josh with now 6 seconds, George with 6 seconds, March with 6 seconds, Alex with 6 seconds, Addy with 6 seconds, March with 9 seconds, Daniel with 3 seconds, Mackenzie with 6 seconds, and then James with 9 seconds. So Daniel only has to lead the race by 3 seconds Mackenzie has to win the race by 3 seconds as we watch Joshua Law make a meal of Stowe, or the hay shed, and has lost a bit of ground as a result there. So the gap is dropping between Mackenzie and Daniel, but like I say, Mackenzie has to overtake Daniel and then win by 3 seconds if he wants to have a hope of taking his second win of the season. And if not, then Daniel will take his third race of the season, and then we'll put out a 7-point lead in the championship to John Lindbergh, and would also... Well, actually, it'll be a bit more at the moment because John is currently 4th, but at the moment looks to be giving Alex a bit of a hurry up, so I don't think John has a penalty yet, so John at the moment will be able to take third from Alex despite the tyre, and this is the part. Look at the difference in the tyre management. John has been on his tyres 2 laps longer than Alex, but you would almost think differently, wouldn't you, judging by how quickly John is making ground on Alex?
Oh, most definitely.
Whether Alex is just conserving his tyres or John's just using his tyres up as much as possible to make a good ground on anything, and oh, thanks. So yeah, this is the only current battle going on at the moment. So John looking to... Well, Alex has already been denied his 100% podium streak as of Azerbaijan when he finished in a season worst 5th. Actually, now I actually come to think about it, I actually think that's a career worst 5th for Alex Little. He's been relatively consistent for the races he had been in this season, last season, and the beta test season as well. So we call this season 2, even though technically it's season 3, but the first season was more of a beta test, if anything, to find a lot of drivers and then situate a 3-category system, which kind of folded a little bit in the way that F1 didn't earn enough drivers, as opposed to F3, or GP3 as we called it, having as close to 15 drivers nearly every day, whereas F1 you'd be lucky if you had 5. So this season we've come in with, at the moment we've got 17 drivers in F1 fully confirmed, plenty of vacancies left, so any driver from F3 or F2 looking to make that step up to F1 with using no assist, it's a good chance to get yourself involved and have a go. We'll definitely take some takings for the mid-season test in 4 weeks time, and then of course then we take a week break from this week, the 12th and the 13th. We take that week off and then come back on the 17th and 18th for the German Grand Prix. So this is a battle that's pretty much just keeps raging on, and speaking of raging on, that's the exact thing that March is doing with his penalties at the moment. So he's not having the greatest race in that regard, but still holding down a points finish, though could possibly lose it to Nadir if he's not too careful. And here we go, John's going to make a move around the outside of Alex. Alex goes defensive, but John's going to have the better line because he'll have the inside heading into the next corner. But Alex tried to shut the door. He couldn't quite get it down, but it was enough that John just didn't quite have the traction to make that move stick. So he's managed to pull off. He's going to try and go around the outside at Copse. That's not an ideal place to be in. You can see because he goes drastically wide. And Alex will just be a little rattled by this, by the fact that having to defend a lot, and Mackenzie's not making that ground he needs to make in order to make a move on Daniel. But actually, just before... Oh, actually, I'll just keep an eye on this into this corner before I have a look. March is in the pits for some reason. He's come back out, so I don't know what he's done there, but I would imagine it was likely to be either him going for the fastest lap or he's got a front wing change. But I don't know why he would go for the fastest lap, given he's giving up a point to do that. 5.4 seconds the gap from Daniel Vale to Mackenzie Stewart, and there's been a move change here between Jules van der Brugge and Eddie Bettenbell while all this has gone on too. So this battle's kind of happened from out of nowhere. I had no idea this came about. They were split by about 2 seconds, so unless Jules has made a mistake and Eddie's capitalised on that, or vice versa, yeah, I don't know where that came from. So, oh, here we go. John's trying to do another move around the outside. In fact, Jules is closer than ever. It's kind of hard to kind of focus on which one to watch. Oh, John gets on the grass a little bit, which ruins his attempt of having a move at Copse. And yeah, it doesn't look like he's going to make a move there. Jaws is fancying a move. Oh, this is a place. This could be good here. So can he tighten his car up through here and get the over and under into the next corner? No, he can't. So I actually think it's the other way around. I think Jaws has actually made the ground on... Oh my goodness me, he's actually sizing himself up around the move around the outside at Copse. But he won't be able to do it. But he should have the traction to be able to attempt something here through... Not through Maggots and Beckett's, definitely not through Hayshed, but Cowshed, I can't remember which one it is actually anymore, but he should be able to set himself up here for Stowe if he can get the car positioned perfectly, and he does, and straight down the inside, Eddie doesn't fight it, and that's position 7 for Jules van der Brugge. So both Toro Rosso still looking to bag some good points here, and John's running out of laps here if he wants to make an effective move on Alex Little here, and Alex will just be hoping that John's tyres just drop off the cliff and that he can sail away. But yeah, Alex is just trying to break the DRS. Not that John's actually using it. That's interesting. I wonder if John's DRS might be broken. So 3 laps left to go here at the British Grand Prix for the F1 category, and Daniel Vale looks like he could be set for race win number 3 of 2018/19. Of course, actually something I never mentioned. Happy New Year to everyone around the world. Merry Christmas and all that kind of stuff. Welcome to the new year of F1 racing, new year of Transnation Formula 1. And March Sandy keeps does his word and does the fastest lap of the race. So March is doing it, and George van der Brugge with a 3-second time penalty as well. So March, I think I know March well enough to know that if he's pitting so close to the end of the race, he's opting for the fastest lap of the race, which last season and the season before did have a bit of significance. This year, not so much. So I don't know why he did it, to be honest, after giving up a point to doing it. But it is going to give... Oh, there's a Sector 2 incident. That's... No one in the immediate area. I think it's just a normal glitch. But yeah, good to see 13 drivers taken out. And it looks like through it all, despite qualifying last, Nadir Ziyat is actually going to help Daniel score some points for Ferrari. So even if it's just 1 point, it's still going to be 26 points for Ferrari. However, at this point of time, let's disregard the fact of Alex's penalties. Mercedes are looking at bagging basically 32 points from this race. It will drop down to 25 when it'll drop to 30 when Alex gets demoted to position 4 as opposed to the penalties. Now I think Matthias only had 3 seconds, and now it's dropped to moved to 6. But I think Matthias could have been on for P4 had he not got that second penalty. So here we go, John fancying a move up the inside, but doesn't look like he's not going to try and do anything about it. we'll just sit here and watch this up until the final lap, because it's got the making that, you know, you've got the inkling that John's going to make a move. But again, it's the DRS activated. Yeah, this time it's activated. So maybe either John missed the activation point, or he forgot to activate it on that corner. So let's see what he does through here. If it activates, it activates. If it's not, he's just forgetting to do it. So let's see. No, he's not deploying his DRS down the hangar straight. So I don't know whether or not he's either forgetting to do it, or I'm just seeing things and his DRS is... Oh, he's actually... Ooh, Alex made a big mistake and John thought about a move there, but it just didn't quite piece together. And that could have been actually quite a nasty little incident there. So John had the right of mind to get out of the way. So who do you think, Matt, would take driver of the day today based on their performances?
Hard to say. Mackenzie's doing pretty well. He's trying to keep it clean, low on the penalty. Pretty much everybody has penalties, so.
Yeah, I would definitely say my driver of the day would go down to Daniel Vale or John Lindberg. Not because they're championship combatants, but just mostly because of the fact that Daniel made a brilliant move to take the lead of the race and has controlled the race pretty much from start to finish. And John Lindberg, of course, after pretty much not making the start itself by missing the ball by a couple of tenths, which dropped him to the back of the field to recover to what is pretty much going to be a podium finish, is an outstanding job. So just watching it, yeah, he's still not deploying his DRS, so I'm starting to think his DRS deployment must be broken or something, because otherwise he would have been deploying it and making it. We'll return to this point here, because well, actually, in saying that, there's another battle brewing too, because I think Jules Van der Brug is right on the back of Guy Tasker all of a sudden. So Guy dropped off the pace immensely. Jules is on the charge, and he's going to actually go for it. He's making the dive. Will he set it up to do what he tried to do against Addy? Not really, no. So I don't think that's going to happen. But either way, we've got to tip our hats off to this man, Daniel Vale. The young Spaniard is going to take his third win of the season and will deny a home victory by many. Daniel Vale wins the British Grand Prix comfortably. Mackenzie Stewart will bring it home. He tried so hard, but in the end, he needed more penalties from Daniel, and he needed more time. So John
making a move.
John's actually going to take Alex on the line here. That doesn't happen, but John, despite the 5-second stop-go penalty unserved, still holds on to third place by just a second. I forgot about the time penalty, the unserved stop-go. Now, Matthias gets his season best of 5th. Oh, and here we go!
Okay,
Guy got him on the line! Guy grabs Jules Van der Brug on the line. I think penalties played a part in it, but still, Guy's car took it on the line. So what we're going to do now is we're going to grab our 3 podium sitters and have a chat with them based on their results. And also going to grab a special mention here. So I'm actually going to grab Guy and bring him in after that excellent display there. So hopefully I don't get disconnected before the disrupted before the thing gets in. So we'll have a chat to our drivers. And what can I say? What an exciting way to end the British Grand Prix. So we've got John Lindberg here. So John, welcome to the coverage and congratulations on the 3rd place. You must have had that glitch that had everyone start before you did. Yeah, so you... No. Yeah, so
I had the wheel past the game and I had a wheel rotation glitch, so must have perfect time at the start.
So either way, you recovered beautifully to end up on the podium. The 5-second stop go, I thought, the 5-second stop go, I thought would have hurt you badly, but it looks like you managed to still pip Alex Little at the line for position 3. So
Then you needed pitch switch 61 kilometers an hour, so it was 1 kilometer over. It's like, fuck.
Yeah, so 1 second in the end was between you and Alex, so that was a great result. Keeps your championship battle alight. Yeah, only actually that is a surprise. I'm just having a look at. I'm just waiting for the thing to penalty. Only 2 drivers not getting penalties. In fact, one of them is with us here. We'll have a chat with him at the end of the presentation. So thanks for your time, John, and we'll see you again in 2 weeks' time at Germany. Mackenzie Stewart, you looks like you managed to capitalise on the start as well from John's mishap, and your strategy helped you jump ahead of your teammate in the rest of the field, and a P2 for given that you didn't start Austria was a good redemption.
Yeah, thanks for that, Brendan. Congratulations to Daniel. It was a really good drive. His pace was just phenomenal in that last stint. I started catching him right at the start, but then as the tyres died off, he just he was able to just pick it all up at the end. But what can I say? The start was I was just really unfortunate with the start with that. I was right behind John, so me having to avoid him really compromised my run. I got pretty much sandwiched between 3 or 4 drivers at the start. I was just had to back off to avoid losing my wings. So that start probably is what cost me the race win. If I didn't have that start, I could have been right up there with Daniel. But I can't say what if. But I'm looking forward to Germany. So yeah, thanks for that, guys.
And thanks for your time there. Daniel Vale, 3 wins in the season. You've pretty much been level pegging with John Lindberg. You're pretty much your title rival at the moment. Great start, great sense of mind to... Could you say that your race was pretty much won with that overtake on Alex at turn 2?
Yes. And the one I did to George in Margot and Beckett.
It was a great race. It was a great race and great result for you too, and you've pretty much got your championship lead back. If you're not winning it, you're level pegging with John on it. So, do you think there's going to be a point in time where you can actually stretch your gap to more than 7 points?
Well, if I can do well in Singapore or Russia, maybe I could do it.
Well, thanks for your time, Daniel, and thanks again for another great show and another victory for you and the team. And points finished with your teammate too, to give you at least some extra points for the constructors. Guy Tasker, so we grabbed you in here for a special mention. That start of yours, again, back of the field to pretty much tossing it for the top 5 is unbelievable. Of course, looks like strategy didn't quite play your hand, but that brilliant move at the end of the race to grab yours on the line, even though the penalties probably were what determined the actual result.
I knew I had the penalty advantage, but yeah, it was nice I wanted to win it on track really, so it was nice just to pip it.
And yeah, so I'm gathering the start.
Yeah, the start was pretty mad. I think it was P11 to P3, so I don't know what happened. I just got a great drive again off the start. Warmed the tyres up nicely, I guess.
Well, either way, it's a great result.
I shouldn't have been that high because,
yeah, qualifying. Your qualifying didn't look quite as.
I wasn't even there at qualifying. The game was paused. That's why.
So that would explain the 140 dead.
Yeah.
Well, either way, great result, good points for you in Red Bull, and that should help you in the constructors' battle against Mercedes.
Yeah, hopefully so.
Heading into Germany. So, Matt, any extra things you want to say, or anything before we close up?
No, I actually thought this was more exciting race, not crash-wise, but there was a lot of racing on track, and I really loved that.
Yeah, I think we definitely need more coverage somewhere just to be able to complement all the racing that we weren't able to see a lot of the time, because there was just so many different battles going on that it was quite hard to keep up. Special mention also to the Toro Rosso boys. Great job from them to finish P5 and P7. So P5 and P8, sorry, and it'll be a good expectation for them heading into the next season. Of course, for Matthias, it'll be a good bit of confidence heading into what will be Ferrari turf next in the next half of the season. So without further ado, we'll close it up here. I've been Brett Keenan, bringing you broadcast of the F1 category with Matthew Elliott, and our winners for today were Daniel Vale from Ferrari, from Mackenzie Stewart of Mercedes, and John Lindberg of Red Bull Racing. So We'll see you again in 2 weeks' time for the German Grand Prix. Stay tuned for in about another 2 hours where we have coverage of the F2 category with commentators of Mackenzie Stewart and Guy Tasker. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in Germany.